I'm VP Business Development for InMobi, heading the business development efforts for North America. And the way the company is structured is we have like 19 global offices. So we have various respective business unit heads based in different locations. But just a quick background, I've been in this industry for the last 15 plus years, where played different various roles, and I was the head of monetization for Opera before joining with InMobi. It's been 7 months. It feels like 7 years, but that's how it has been. I do manage current job. My part is like I do manage the relationship with premium partners. The whole motive is to make sure that we have quality and quantity. So you see some big names. They pretty much work with us in various capacities, different form of ad units that we help them to monetize. So I'm going to quickly talk about, share some thoughts on the best practices for native, and we have the practices equally inclined, basically both for publishers and advertisers, but I'm going to speak more on the publisher side, and sharing some of the different verticals that we today work with. As I think some of the folks actually won the quiz. We have 30,000 plus publishers working with us. At a global level, we're pretty much working with all the verticals. When it comes to social, when it comes to music, when it comes to news, there are some early adopters, and native is a buzz that we just can't afford to stay away with these days. There is I would say that the confusion days of what is native is kind of like we've moved a few steps ahead in the market with that. The industry has kind of become more mature, but we have proven use cases and testaments on this is just a showcase of how we've actually worked with a bunch of top social monetization partners. And this is at a global scale. We basically, InMobi being present, throughout the globe. So we have been helping partners in the social area, and we've testaments coming in different formats. We've really seen that there's an upliftment of anywhere from 2 times to 5x times of CPMs, and keeping in line of again the adoption of native, on how it is technically speaking is supposed to be a part of the feed content and kind of like really gel with the content, right? So this is again something showing the showcase of social monetization. Quickly moving on to where we as a company, as a contributor to the industry, we've laid down the foundations when it comes to writing the specs with IAB and the MMA. And what we have done again with guys like Shazam and Pandora, we do work with them in all capacities. And again, there is a huge interest in the industry in terms of when publishers really are learning, not only from the sense of if with really native can actually bring 3x or 4x of CPMs. We do talk with publishers almost on every day basis that it's not just only the CPMs. It's basically how well you gel the product offerings, the content within the app, which is contextual and relevant to the experience that goes to user. And InMobi, again, the different side of the business, is where we work with partners like Kochawa and many other partners. Is we are one of the largest when it comes to user acquisitions. InMobi has a secret sauce. We as a company, wherein we are the biggest challenge with these publishers are not just to make the money at the end of the day. It's basically sustaining the users, right? There is competition in every vertical. There are more Pandoras and Spotifys and Shazams, and this is the same story in every vertical that we go and talk to the publishers, right? The biggest challenge is how they sustain the users. And we have enough proven cases and testaments where native ad adoption by these publishers of ours have really helped them to make the users stay close towards the content consumption. Right, so this is again a quick snapshot on how we have been successful in doing the same on the music industry, and moving on. This is a quick showcase of, as I just mentioned that we have laid the foundation in writing these specs with IAB and MMA. These are like the 4 formats that we are offering and showing here, but there is much more beyond that. So typical style is the news feed kind of native ads, and you see how these are actually fitting in, or the icon style ads that we see here, or more and more of adoption is basically the feed style from the publishers these days to make sure that the viewability factors, which was just spoken by Garrett as well. So these are a few formats that kind of covers on the native banners that we are offering, but this is beyond that. Again, what InMobi has done in the industry with many other players in the ecosystem This is one of the very recent products that we've come out in the industry, and it's that in a similar fashion, some other big players do offers. We have native storyboards, which is wherein we are actually trying to offer products which is highly contextual. And I'll give some examples here. Like one of our customers, I spoke with the CEO of a company called Drippler. And if you've heard about Drippler, right, so they are very savvy on the content that they offer to the customers, right? So we are really trying to help make a use case. It doesn't make sense to actually show a potato chips ad, which is native in form, on a publisher who's basically trying to offer more of technological content and stuff, right? So we work with them. With the data signals that are coming to our platform, we have some good sense of attribution quality signals that are coming to us, and try to be very contextual, very relevant. The look and feel of the products which are going to be offered within the context is very critical for our customers from the publisher base that we speak of. I'm again now coming up basically with a few best practices that we recommend to our publishers. We're talking to them on if there is early adoption stages, or they're already working with a lot of demand sources. As it's a very convoluted market and Lumascape becomes more and more complex, there is a new network that pops out every second week. So over ambitious people, but that's they got to do it. So again, question is why go native? And then basically in our world when we really see that if you're not different, it's a virtual society. There is a lot of innovation happening with networks and demand sources and platform, where they come with rich media ads, where they come with Hoover ads, where there's endless limit that's going to happen basically. So a big question is that if the ad is not looking different, is this totally against of the very basic nature of native ads? And then again, enough of use cases, enough of study materials have been out there when we basically say that it is inherently engaging. It is basically a part of the content, and the most important aspect here is it's opt-in. I'm sure we've learned around rewarded video ads. When a user is really opted in to see the content, it is actually adding value to the customer, right? So that's a very critical factor. That's what we discuss with our publishers on a day-to-day basis, guys. That let us be the advocates, and also discussing and be mutually beneficial in making sure that you guys are making money at the same time you're making your users happy. The best, when it really comes to best practices for publishers, I think these are three critical factors, and I'm going to share some use cases here with you guys. When talking about the relevance, when talking about the positioning within the apps, and we're also talking about the persistency of the ads within the content that is being offered by the publishers. Like any other ad format, native ad is very effective when it really is complementing the organic content being offered. And with a lot of intelligent data signals coming up, with publishers getting more savvy, and basically with the privacy policy, being cognizant of all the privacy policies, the PII policies and stuff, and that we keep in mind. So we ran a campaign. This is one example that I would love to share with everybody here. Is InMobi actually ran a campaign which is for Samsung Elettronica in Italia. We were running a promotional campaign. We basically wanted to offer 200 euros off to a new phone that they can actually buy. So basically this is very well blended, non-intrusive ad which is offered to the customers in a nice fashion, which is like really gelling up with the content. And we really saw the conversions were like 15x as compared to some other campaigns that we ran for similar advertisers in non-native formats. So relevance is very, very critical for our publishers from that perspective. The second aspect, which we again discuss with the publishers, because the biggest challenge, let me answer one thing, without a question. The biggest challenge for a publisher is there's so much of hesitation that comes from the product team. Basically we're talking at scale. InMobi gets in excess of 6 billion ad requests a day globally. We have publishers who have hundreds, have tens and 20, 30 million ad requests hitting the platform on a daily basis. The biggest hesitation that we get when we talk to the publishers to convince them is when the product team is actually going to give an approval for making some changes in the positioning of the ads, right? So this is a challenge that we face in talking to our customers almost on a daily basis, and again, the early adopters and basically publishers learning through other use cases and testaments are actually available in the industry, right? So this is what we have really seen here, that positioning the ad, and especially in the case of a feed structure, when the best results are achieved, the ad units are on the main pages and above the page fold. We typically see there is again ads which are sticking to the banner, sticky ads, or cohesive ads which they actually offer. But how many times the ad should be repeated in a tile and on the positioning of it. We have seen again with one of our customers placing these ads, and we've seen 10x times compared to traditional banners, the CTRs. And of course, the CTRs, when it is either brand awareness or performance-based ads, or where the industry is moving towards the commerce orientation, we've seen great upliftment if the positioning is actually right within the apps. The next one is, this is again talking about the persistence. In my experience with a lot of publishers, we were talking to some publishers. They wanted to somehow generate more ad requests to the system. So we have some typical recommendations that either have a refresh rate which is 30 or 60 seconds. So all of a sudden, this is when I used to work at Opera, and we were working on we've launched a new publisher, and we thought it was a mistake, but they did on purpose. So they basically changed the refresh rate to 10 seconds, and all of a sudden next day in the systems were like all the flags were alerting out, and what happened? Is this fake traffic or what happened basically? Then we learned through them that they wanted to somehow increase the total number of ad requests, which was a bad practice, because that brought the CTRs from like 2% to 0.2%, like day one. So there was an emergency situation. We had to go back and tell them, guys, this is what is happening, and then this pretty much happens with the typical banners. But when it comes to native ads and how again it appears in the feed structure content, or a lot of lifestyle applications these days are coming with icons and stuff, and they want to gel it, blend it in the content that they offer. So persistence and persistency is very critical, and the refresh rates is also very, very critical on the nature of the content consumption. So our learnings with our publishers representing different verticals have actually been, has educated us, and we've been talking to them also on the same lines. But we do always have cheat sheets, we have guidelines, we have recommendations which we offer to our publishers before we start our relationship. And we do learn and take a lot of feedback from these guys on the current user experience, if they have already been taken a deep dive into the native part of the world. So I believe if I was too fast, I again wanted to basically share with everybody on certain best practices for publishers for native. And where we see native is, especially when we talk about InMobi as a company, we've invested a lot into native. We are one of the early, early guys in the native adoption, and when it comes to solidified product offerings to our publishers, basically. We do see, at least this is the future at this stage, because very premium guys like Forbes of the world and New York Times of the world, and basically when we talk about certain Condé Nast and premium magazine guys, they have adopted native. But the challenge is again where the industry gets more and more smarter, and when it comes, all the mediation platforms should be supporting new innovative ad units that are coming out in the industry. So we as a company have taken a stance, and we definitely think that native is the future, at least for next couple of years, before some other crazy units are coming out, and which needs more crazier attribution qualities to be handled by these partners. But we have invested and rewarded videos or other form of video unit adoption in native also is picking, and we are seeing some great traction coming out. That's about it on the native front. I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have.
What type of publishers are the fastest to adopt native ads?
So Madja, I think the early adoption for native has been especially for news. We've seen like Forbes and Forbes and the big guys in the industry, they've adopted native very well. And I think the other so music industry is picking up, but again, it's hard. They have the music overlap and stuff. They want to make sure that the video ads or native formats are going to not interrupt their experience. Basically, I think the other vertical that is picking up very well is the lifestyle. So a lot of premium magazine guys have really adopted native, and they do see the value of of the presentation that they're having basically. Right? Thank you guys.